Hey there, Aspiring Spike here. I've got a new brew for you this week. This is a new take on an old classic, Blue-Red Delver. This is a strategy that saw some resurgence when Modern Horizons got printed. Force of Negation, Archmage's Charm, and Magmatic Sinkhole I think are huge upgrades to the strategy. I played it when Modern Horizons first got printed and I did trophy with it, but I felt like it was missing something. Put it on the shelf for a while, and then Throne of Eldraine gave us Mystic Sanctuary. Mystic Sanctuary interacts very favorably with Deprive. Deprive being blue-blue counter-target spell, and as an additional cost to cast the spell, you return a land you control to your owner's hand. And so you bounce your Mystic Sanctuary. It's an island that comes into play tapped unless you control three or more other islands. And if it does come into play untapped, you get to choose an instant or sorcery from your graveyard and put it on top. So you can fetch for your Mystic Sanctuary, put a Deprive back on top of your library, cast your Deprive, return Mystic Sanctuary to your hand, play Mystic Sanctuary, put Deprive on top. You can then Serum Visions or Opt or Archmage's Charm into your Deprive, and then counter your opponent's spells over and over again. It sort of acts like a soft lock. It's very good against decks that are playing spells that cost 3 or more mana. I've been very, very impressed with this interaction, and I think that this is probably the best shell for this interaction. A deck that can get ahead on board early with Delver of Secrets or Young Pyromancer seems like the best way to take advantage of this soft lock. So we'll discuss some of the card choices. We'll run it through a league and see how it goes. I did trophy with this deck earlier this week, and I think it is quite good. The first thing you probably notice is that we have no copies of Basic Mountain and no Scalding Tarns. I think it's bad to play Scalding Tarn if you have no copies of Basic Mountain, because maybe you can trick your opponent into thinking you're playing some other color combination. And I think the Basic Mountain is bad alongside Mystic Sanctuary, which requires 3 other islands to be in play for it to come into play untapped, and your triple blue costed Archmage's Charm, and to some extent your double blue costed Deprive. I have not missed the Basic Mountain. I would not recommend playing it. I do think 2 Mystic Sanctuary is the correct number. Usually you only need access to 1 to fetch. You can get your Deprive Sanctuary lock going, but sometimes you don't draw Deprive, and sometimes you already fetch and get an Archmage's Charm back on top of your deck, and you draw 2 cards, and then you want to do it again. I really liked access to 2 copies. I wouldn't recommend playing 3. I haven't really felt the urge to play 3 in the course of my matches. I haven't really missed the 3rd copy. I think 2 is correct. Moving on to the spells a little bit. Nothing too crazy in the 1-drop slot. Delver of Secrets is a good card when you're trying to get ahead on board early and use cheap counter spells and burn spells to stay ahead on board. There really isn't another 1-mana spell that does what Delver does as well as Delver does it. Opt and Serum Visions to set up your Delver flips, to trigger Young Pyromancer's Elementals. I think it's good to play 8. I don't think that I would want to play more than 8. I think 8 is correct. Spell Snares, I think, is very well positioned in the format. I could see playing 3. I've been happy with 2. Lightning Bolt really needs no introduction. Does 3 damage for 1 mana. Wowie Maui. Snapcaster Mage, kind of the same thing. Best blue creature ever printed. Really, really good with lots of cheap spells. Deprive, we've already discussed the interaction between Mystic Sanctuary and Deprive, how this can provide sort of a soft lock later in the game. Young Pyromancer, really, really good with Force of Negation, being able to play it on turn 2, and then have your opponent be incentivized to kill Young Pyromancer on their main phase, so you don't untap and cast Ops and Lightning Bolts on your upkeep. And then you get to Force, you get an Elemental token, then you get to make more Elemental tokens and hopefully snowball into a victory. Magmatic Sinkhole solves basically any problem that Lightning Bolt can't. It can kill a Tarmogoyf, it can kill a Teferi Time Raveler, it can kill a Celestial Colonnade, it can kill a Reality Smasher, Thought-Knot Seer. I really like access to 2 Magmatic Sinkholes. They solve a lot of problems that Blue-Red Delver really couldn't solve before this card was printed. And Archmage's Charm is also a big reason to play this deck. I like Archmage's Charm a lot at the top of a curve of a deck like this, when you can get ahead on board early with a Delver of Secrets or a Young Pyromancer, and just hold up Archmage's Charm, and if your opponent plays something you need to counter, you can counter it, and if they don't, you get to draw 2 cards. That flexibility gives you a late game power that Blue-Red Delver just didn't have in the past. Also, the gain control of a non-land permanent with CMC 1 or less, it doesn't come up very often, but when it does come up, it's fantastic. It's very good against hardened scales, being able to steal like Hangerback Walker, You can even just take their hardened scales from them and get that off of the board. I also like it a lot against the paradoxical outcome Urza decks. I mean, just 3-mana cancel is probably good against them anyways because they're trying to resolve really impactful 4-mana spells. But something that's happened a few times is I've been able to steal... They often play out engineered explosives on 0, and they also play out a lot of 0-mana artifacts. And so you can actually just take their engineered explosives on 0 and sacrifice it and blow up a big portion of their board, which has been pretty funny. I like Archmage Charm a lot. It works well with Mystic Sanctuary, being able to generate some card advantage as well. Really, really good at the top of a curve of a deck like this. And then let's discuss the sideboard and jump into some games. Alright, talking about the sideboard, we have 3 copies of Dragon's Claw. Burn is still very good. You need to respect the burn matchup in this modern format. Ashiok is a card that is kind of a newcomer to the modern format, but I think is a very good sideboard card at the moment. There are a good amount of Dredge and Vengevine decks popping up, and I think the -1 ability is very, very impactful against them, and the static ability is really good against Red-Green Valakut and Amulet Titan, stopping their Farseeks and their Soccer Tribelders and their Scapeshifts and their Primetimes and their Teleria Wests. All these have been very good, and something also that's funny is when you board in 3, sometimes you can go on the mill plan and aggressively minus the first one and then start minusing the second one. I've won a few games that way, which was not something I necessarily expected to do. And I had Alpine Moons in my sideboard in my 5-0 list, but I've cut them for ceremonious rejections. Alpine Moon used to be a lot better when Tron wasn't tutoring up Blast Zones to destroy it, and when Red-Green Valakut didn't have Field of the Dead to tutor up. So we're kind of leaning on Ashiok to help us out in the Red-Green Valakut matchup, and Ceremonious Rejection to help us out in the Tron and Eldrazi Tron matchups. Rejections could be Disdainful Strokes, but I think because we have Ashiok for the Primeval Titan decks, we can lean on the more efficient 1-mana spell against Tron and Eldrazi Tron. A Braiding Grim Lavamancer for creature decks. Grim Lavamancer is also good against Death Shadow, being able to meaningfully threaten their life total at instant speed. Very, very nice. I also like Lavamancer against Grixis Control, being able to exile your own graveyard to make Into the Story and Drown in the Lochworse has been very nice. Narset being our kind of grindy matchup Planeswalker card. I like this card a lot against blue-white control primarily, and I bring it in against Jund, and it is impactful in the mirror, and it's impactful against Blue-Red Storm, Neobrand, decks that are trying to draw cards. So that's a deck tech. Let's go ahead and run it through some games and see how it performs. Okay, so we're on the play for our first match. We're going to take a mulligan. I'm recording this about a week after I did that first deck tech. I made a recording and there was some problem with the file, and I intended to do another recording at some point during the week, but I wasn't able to get to it until this weekend. I do like this hand. I think I'm going to put back one of the Young Pyromancers, and I think that we're going to try to play Young Pyromancer with Force of Negation up on turn 2. Sorry if you can hear Athena in the webcam. That's my dog, for those of you who don't tune to the stream. She's been kind of energetic this morning. Taking her for a walk. We played earlier, and she's still. I think she's trying to get me off of the computer. So you might see me playing some tug of war with her a little bit during this video. So no spell snare is nice. Snow-covered island plus opt probably means we're playing against blue-white control. Snow-covered islands in this format tends to mean Urza, but Urza doesn't usually play opt. So island opt is usually blue-white control. So here we see how our opponent is sort of forced to path the Young Pyromancer on their turn, and we get to force their removal spell and get a token immediately, and then we get to untap with 2 opt, make a couple elementals, and it's going to be pretty difficult for our opponent to recover from this tempo advantage we've generated. I'll keep the 3rd opt. I don't know if you can see, this is something that happens pretty often if you tune into the stream. Athena, when I sit down, she tries to get me to play, and not start working on the stream, and eventually she realizes I'm not going to give in, and she'll just take a nap until I wrap up the stream. So we are very ahead here. We can just sit back, hold up Archmage's Charm, hold up Snap Opt if we want. Kind of an interesting discussion if our opponent does nothing, whether we are supposed to Charm or Snap Opt. But also, like, our opponent has to do something, so they have to do something because we have pressure in play. I thought it was pretty likely we're going to have to Archmage's Charm something this turn. Ooh, Deprive is great. If we can find one more island, we get the Deprive Mystic Sanctuary soft lock going. So I opted here on my main phase to try to hit a land, but I do think keeping a bolt is worth it. We have 3 points of power in play. Our opponent's at 14, and now we have 9 points of burning in our hand with a counter spell to almost assuredly let these elementals hit a second time, or a third time rather. I'm not sure what my opponent could be tanking on here. Surely they're not going to dismember an elemental if that's what they're thinking about. They might be thinking about opting. Maybe they were just trying to figure out what we did with the opt, and they were scrolling up on the game log. That's probably the most likely thing. When your opponents pause on Magic Online, I think it's usually advisable to try to figure out why they're pausing and what they're thinking about. Just try to get inside their mind. So this is an interesting spot. I would like to draw red mana. If we draw red mana, then if we can connect with 2 of these elementals, they block 1 with Stoneforge, they go to 9. Then we have lethal damage in burn, although that does fold to a counter spell. So maybe we should just bolt the Stoneforge Mystic. If we just bolt the Stoneforge Mystic, we attack them to 8, and they hard cast Batter Skull. That could be a problem. I think I'm in for going for the win. I suppose we should have bolted after we attacked. I mean, I really doubt our opponent's going to flash into Snapcaster Mage and trade for an elemental here, but maybe they will after we lightning bolt them. One thing that's kind of unfortunate is we have to fetch and get a Steam Vents, and we can't save the fetch to Mystic Sanctuary and bolt to the top. A lot of people like to badmouth Stoneforge Mystic in Modern and say it's just not that good or whatever, but Stoneforge is one of the best cards at getting you back from behind. Okay, Lightning Bolt was obviously a sick draw. We were very lucky to draw it. Let's so I'm gonna attack with the elementals, and then I'm gonna force my opponent to spend 2 mana with the Stoneforge Mystic, and then I'm gonna bolt Snap Bolt. I think that it's possible that they can counter one of the bolts, but I think it's very unlikely they can counter 2, and especially if they have to tap low like this. I guess they could have another Force of Negation. Yeah, looks like they didn't. They couldn't have even had another Force of Negation because one of these 2 cards is a Batter Skull. So we got game 1 against Blue-White Control, which is very nice. In these grindy matchups, winning game 1 is a pretty big deal, I think. So I do want to bring in these Narsets. I also like I want against the Stoneforge Mystic versions, especially if you see spell queller's, you want some number of abrades. You don't want to go too high on abrade, but I do tend to like to bring in some number. I also don't mind trimming Force of Negations in this matchup. You have a decent amount of counter spells for their planeswalkers. Like, one of the reasons why we bring in Force of Negation out of Grixis control against blue-white is it's kind of hard to counter a 3-mana planeswalker on turn 3 with Drowning Block sometimes if they just don't use fetch lands and they don't cast Opt. It can be awkward, but you can pretty consistently snag one with a deprive, or you can just pressure them with your creatures. So I think I like trimming on forces, bringing in 2 Narsets and just 1 abrade. And going down 1 bolt seems fine to me. Okay, let's submit like this and go ahead and go to game number 2. This hand looks quite good. We're certainly going to keep. We're going to lead on Steamvince Delver. We can potentially bolt a Stoneforge Mystic. This is a matchup where I really like just running out Young Pyromancer on 2. If your opponents don't do anything, they usually have to path it, and that's a pretty meaningful 2-for-1, making your opponent path early in the game, and then you can like leverage your Narset a little bit better with the extra mana. Wow, they pathed the Delver. This is why I have shied away from a lot of the blue-white decks, although I have been brewing with some blue-white decks recently. I really dislike having to path on turn 2. I think it's the game when you have to path on turn 1 or turn 2. I feel like you lose those games really often, and I do my best to not have to path that early. So opponent could possibly try to resolve a Tezzeret here, or sorry, Teferi. Ooh, Castle Arvindale. I've been seeing this pick up a little bit more out of the blue-white decks. Opponent's playing a Rest in Peace. That's something that kind of surprises me. So it shuts off their Snapcasters and my Snapcasters, and shuts off my Mystic Sanctuary lock, but you know, I assume they also probably have 1 Mystic Sanctuary, so this seems like almost just symmetrical, but it costs them a card and 2 mana to play it. I guess it also is good against Magmatic Sinkhole. Although we have enough mana in our hand to just hard cast this. I'm a little worried about this castle taking over the game. Especially if the game is stalled due to this Rest in Peace. You know, it is good against 2 cards in our hand. I'm still not convinced it's correct for our opponent to bring in the Rest in Peace, but it certainly looks good here. Narset's static ability is also going to be quite good in this matchup, I think. There's a Young Pyromancer, and an Archmage's Charm, and an Opt. So next turn we can play Young Pyromancer, play a Misty Rainforest. If they do anything to the Young Pyromancer, we can Opt, draw the Charm, crack Misty Rainforest, and counter it with Archmage's Charm and make 2 tokens. That seems worthwhile to me. I will probably flash in a Snapcaster Mage end of turn. You know, it's just going to be a 2-1 flash because of this Narset. It's not going to get any better than that. Opponent may flash in their own Snapcaster end of turn here. They may shuffle us with Field of Ruin as well. That's a good play, because we did top with the Visions. We do have lots of basics to get, but good job shuffling away those cards, opponent. They got an island, so they can't activate this castle yet. So I think we're safe to play the Snapcaster at least this turn. Well, we drew Archmage's Charm anyways, which was very lucky. I'm going to go ahead and go to combat with my Snapcaster Mage and attack for 2. Play a young Pyromancer. Oh, sorry about the sound. That's my Twitch follow notification sound, and I have Streamlabs open to record this video. I'd give a shout out to whoever followed, but I don't have the notification box set up here. So I'm going to bolt now using my floating red mana to make an elemental. They can start activating their castle now. Ooh, Supreme Verdict. That was a good play for them. I imagine they were sandbagging that for some time. We found another Pyromancer though. Let's go ahead and start generating some value off of our Pyromancer here. If they path the Pyromancer, I will bolt them in response just to make an elemental. So now we have 2 elementals. They have their castle, which can, at the cost of effectively 5 mana, make a soldier and block. We have lots of islands to get. No shortage of islands here. I don't think I want the Snapcaster Mage because there's a Rest in Peace in play, but I will go ahead and opt and see if we can't find something good off this Serum Visions. I think Deprive qualifies as something good. And now we have some insurance in case they draw their Batter Skull or Stoneforge Mystic. We can just debride it. So, well, hopefully they forget Narset's in play and they brainstorm with Jace, but yeah, they just go ahead and minus on the elemental instead. It is a little tempting to get some value out of our Magmatic Sinkhole. While we actually have 8 mana, so yeah, I'm just gonna crazy that we can hard cast Magmatic Sinkhole and keep Deprive up. I didn't think that would be something that happened today. I wonder if our opponent boarded out their Snapcaster Mages to bring in Rest in Peace. The Deprive Mystic Sanctuary lock is certainly good against our opponent. It's just, I would think that since they have their own Snapcaster Mage and other graveyard synergies, they'd be less interested in bringing in Rest in Peace. I don't know how familiar our opponent is with this matchup. Oh, our opponent main phased their opt, which is, I think, a mistake we've all made. Into the Narset, they didn't get to draw their card. I'm very scared of this castle, though. I'm very scared of this castle. We've already used 2 lightning bolts. We boarded 1 out, so unless we can find another young Pyromancer soon, I could see this card taking over the game. A Delver of Secrets would also be good. I do think getting our opponent 2/6 is worth it because we have, another bolt in the deck. We have a Delver of Secrets to attack for 3. And now I'm not going to attack with the Elemental. I think I would rather keep Narset alive just for a turn. I remember when Narset was first out and I was playing a lot of Jund. I was sacking my my nurturing peatlands into the Narsets a lot, and it certainly got me more than once. I wonder if I'm supposed to Magmatic Sinkhole the Soldier token. I think the answer is no. I think we can just let Narset go this time. And then now we need to draw basically a Delver of Secrets or Young Pyromancer before we die to the human tokens. I just realized these were humans and not soldiers. Probably can't play this in a Champion of the Parish Thalia's Lieutenant deck, but kind of tempting. Kind of tempting. We also, fetched and shocked a bunch of times, so I think that this is about as good as this Magmatic Sinkhole is going to get. We still have Deprive plus Stare Up, and I think we're going to Sinkhole a human token at some point anyways. Might as well do it now and just save 1 point of life. Who knows if it will be relevant or not, but I think there's a decent chance it will be. Okay, Delver is a probably our best draw, maybe even better than Young Pyromancer at this point. And the opponent does have 5 cards in their hand, but I will aggressively protect the Delver of Secrets with our counter spells. And I don't think it's super likely they have 4 answers to Delver in their hand. Oh wait, hold on. I'm just gonna pay 3. I almost counted this. Yeah, we still have 2 counter spells up. Weird that they would dispute that. I wonder what that says about the rest of their hand. I was kind of like used to this being just like a blue elemental blast for other blue spells, but yeah, sometimes you just have 3 mana. I do like Mystical Dispute. I think it's a very good sideboard card against the Urza decks. And honestly, there just aren't that many good sideboard cards against the Urza decks. So we did not flip Delver, but we did draw another one. So this, if we flip next turn, then it's the same clock, effectively. We have to hope for no Supreme Verdict, I think. Although our opponent may have Supreme Verdicted just the first Delver. Because going to 3 against a Lightning Bolt deck is certainly a liability. Although with Rest in Peace stopping our Mystic Sanctuary from recurring Lightning Bolts, it's a little less risky. And looks like sinkholing that 1 human token means that we bought ourselves 2 extra turns here. So we can even flip next turn if we don't flip this turn because we sinkholed that human token a few turns ago. There's a Mystic Sanctuary on top, which would usually be fine here to flip the Delvers, but Rest in Pieces are looking very good. So 1 more shot. If we do not flip here, I think we're very unlikely to win. This castle totally took over the game. I've been pretty impressed by it. It seems good alongside Stoneforge Mystic as well. One negative is that it's not an island for your Mystic Sanctuaries, so I don't know if our opponent is even choosing to include Mystic Sanctuary in their deck building. We go to 1, and now we need to flip our Delvers. They've whiffed a few times, and Gambler's Fallacy would dictate that we're due to flip our Delvers. And Gambler's Fallacy is always correct. And we have flipped our Delvers. We have 3 counterspells, and we flipped with a counterspell. So I'm feeling pretty good. So they could have a path here. I almost feel like they would have led with a path if they had one. Ooh, a force. Then we can't spell snare. So it looks like we still lose unless we draw some crazy combination of cards with this Archmage's Charm. I assume would have to... Yeah, we can't steal a human token, sadly. So Delver, block, bolt 1, then we take 2 and die. Very close game. Very close game. Exciting stuff. Let's go ahead and go to game 3. We didn't see a Stoneforge Mystic that entire game. I wonder if we should take out this Abrade. Bring in the third force. I'm going to do that. You know, we have spell snares and bolts for Stoneforge Mystics, but it could be a little risky to play without any protection for the artifacts. We'll try it like this and go to game 3. Alright, on the play for game 3, keeping this. Opponent kept 7 as well. Go ahead and lead on Stevens. I don't want to use my Flooded Strand unless, in case we want to get a Mystic Sanctuary with that in a couple turns. Spell Snare is not bad here because we can snare a Stoneforge Mystic on turn 2. Looks like that's going to happen. And then we would like for them to play nothing next turn, and we'd also like to find... Oh, rest in peace. Well, we will spell snare this because we want the deprive Mystic Sanctuary lock. That's something we're interested in. Although, we have to use our... I think it is correct to use our Flooded Strand to try to Narset here. Narset is very good in this matchup. Her static ability, as you saw last game, was pretty relevant. Like, Jace couldn't brainstorm, and you knew they wanted to brainstorm, and you know, they cast an opt main phase into it. So we can bolt this Stoneforge Mystic and delay the Batterskull by a couple of turns. There's another Narset. Now, do we opt and try to hit a land, or do we just play it safe and bolt plus hold up deprive? I'm going to get a little frisky and opt main phase. So now we don't have we won't be able to hold up deprive anyway, so I think it's correct to just Serum Visions there. We're gonna hit a land next turn. We are going shields down, but they can't Batterskull us. Jace the Mind Sculptor doesn't do a ton in the face of a Narset. Yeah, they weren't able to capitalize on us being tapped out. This Colonnade is looking a little dangerous, potentially. We'll see how impactful it is. Do you want a Mystic Sanctuary back any of these cards? I think the answer is no, not quite yet. Don't mind drawing a land here. I'd like to find a threat. I'd like to start finding Archmage's Charms and looping them with Mystic Sanctuaries. The opponent is not going to, cast their Batterskull. Looks like they're not going to go for Colonnade, which I do think bodes well for us. Now that we've hit our 5th land, I think that I'm going to Mystic Sanctuary back a deprive or an opt here. Just opt end of turn and see if we can find an Archmage's Charm or a threat. It's not great to miss a land drop, but I think that will be okay. I do like knowing that they have the Batterskull in their hand. They may just be tempted to run out this very clunky 5-mana spell, and we get to spend 2 mana to counter it, and then potentially capitalize with a Young Pyromancer or something like that. No Colonnade still, no Batterskull. I think we should keep Delver. We do need some threats. Wouldn't hate a land here. Cool. So now we still have deprive, snare up. And we can guarantee a flip if we tutor up a Mystic Sanctuary, which is probably something that we are interested in doing. Probably just getting back opt. The second Narset in our hand is kind of nice in case, you know, they do spend 5 mana to Colonnade Narset. Maybe we can Narset and find a Magmatic Sinkhole after that. Field of Rune's a little obnoxious. Oh, wow, they're just going for it? Sure. I mean, this is fine. We have another Mystic Sanctuary in the deck to tutor up. And I'm going to tutor it up here. I'm going to do it just on my upkeep. Kind of the same as my instep. I guess maybe a little worse than their instep in case they wanted to respond to this and we could use our mana, but pretty unlikely. So we get to flip our Delver, which is nice. Not sure if I want to main phase opt or not. We are exposing, you know, they can Colonnade and block, so I don't mind trading Delver and Bolt for Colonnade, seeing how much of a liability Colonnade is, just overall, but I do like opting to try to hit a Sinkhole first. I don't really mind that trade too much. We can get a Delver in play. We still have Deprive plus Snare up if they go for Batterskull or something. Looks like they're not going for Batterskull. It is a little weird to me that we keep tapping low and our opponent seems just very hesitant to go for anything. I kind of want to, because of how our opponent's been playing, I kind of want to go for the second Narset, but I think Discipline, I think if you're going to play Discipline, it's good to not go for it here. Just like when you have a threat in play, I think it's important to try to make your opponent be the first one to make a move and use mana. Yeah. So is now a good time to go for Narset? Probably. Especially if we draw a land. Ooh, we drew a Snapcaster. So now I think we should just Snapcaster end of turn, Snapcaster opt. Get just a little bit of pressure in play. I wonder if our opponent has any spells in hand that are being negated by Narset here. Losing our second Mystic Sanctuary is pretty bad for us because now our deprives are no longer nearly as good. But there wasn't really much we could do about it. I guess we could have Snapcastered in response, and if they fought over it, we could have deprived. I do like drawing Young Pyromancer here. Although I'm a little worried about a second Supreme Verdict. I'm going to run it out. Our opponent has so much mana and they're not casting the Batterskull. It's pretty weird to me that they haven't cast the Batterskull yet. You know, they have 11 mana in hand. Okay, there's another Supreme Verdict. I will go for a Snapcaster opt end of turn, I think. We still have Deprive plus Snare up. Would love to find some Archmage's Charms. We haven't drawn any in the top 30 cards, but usually just like Archmage's Charm is a huge way to get advantage in a matchup like this. Sinkhole is not bad. That can answer a Colonnade down the line. So if they do have a Mystic Sanctuary, this Flooded Strand can get it. I don't think I want to fight over this path. It's just fine. Opponent has 3 cards. One of them is a Batter Skull that they refuse to play. There's a Charm. So let's get a little bit of an advantage and draw 2 cards. I'm going to opt looking for a threat here, so we don't have to go to discard. There's a threat. If we had to go to discard, I guess we still do, because we didn't find a land either. I'm just going to bolt them. I think all the cards in my hand have value. And we still have Snare, or Deprive, Snare, Force, Pitching, Narset if we really need to fight over something, but I don't anticipate that being the case. Okay, they finally go for this Batter Skull. I'm sure they're going to fight over it. I'm happy to fight back. See if we can snare something. And we do have a force if they want to go completely hellbent. Yeah, look at this stack. That's a very beautiful stack. But got game 1 over blue-white control. A matchup that I think is actually very close. And if you play tight and you're comfortable in the matchup, you're gonna have success. So that was round 1. Let's go ahead and go to round number 2. Because we're on the play for the second match of this league. I do like this hand. Serum Visions can set up some land drops, and we have a pretty permission-heavy hand. I keep almost all 1-land Serum Vision hands. We did whiff on lands here. We did find a threat in Young Pyromancer. If we top deck a land, Pyromancer plus Force of Negation is usually a very strong turn 2 play. And if we miss, we can opt and try to hit a land still. So it'd be pretty unlucky to whiff on, you know, the 3 cards from Serum Visions, our draw step, and our opt. That's like 6 cards to not see a land. Okay, we did hit a land, and then we can try to hit another one off this opt. When it cycles Lonely Sandbar, that usually means Twiddle Storm, which is a very good matchup with how many counterspells we play. Although Astrolabe may mean this is like a Teamer Renin 6 deck that's returning Lonely Sandbar for value. Which I think that may be a little bit worse for us. Honestly, the Teamer mid-range decks have kind of seemed like nonsense to me. I just have no idea how they beat big mana strategies. I'm gonna just hold up Charm / Force / Snapcaster Opt this turn. I do kind of suspect our opponent could play like an Oko this turn, while Snapcaster plus Force would be decent. I think that I'd rather use a 3-mana counterspell and then Pyromancer plus Deprive next turn. So ideally we can Archmage's Charm like an Oko or a Renin 6 or something. If they don't do anything, we can Charm and draw 2 cards, and then now we can play Pyromancer with Deprive up and Force of Negation on their turn. Cool. So let's go ahead and Sanctuary, put Charm on top. And even though we know the Delver is flipping, I think the Delver is probably going to flip most turns the rest of this game if we end up using our Deprive. I kind of don't want to Deprive Spell Snare. It's a little weak to another Spell Snare. I think it's fine to let it go. I feel pretty ahead here. Just the advantage you can generate off Mystic Sanctuary means I think that you can afford to play much less aggressive than you would in another strategy. So we'll see if they do have the other Spell Snare. They do not. Cool. So there's the Charm we knew we were drawing. So let's go ahead and Sanctuary back, Deprive, and then we can play Delver and hold up Charm plus Force. And if they use a 1-mana removal spell on Delver, I'm not going to fight over it. We didn't fight over it, which was the plan all along. And then we can just keep generating advantage with Archmage's Charm. I'm going to draw 2 cards in a turn if they don't do anything, which is the nice thing about Archmage's Charm. I'm going to counter something if they play it. Yeah, like I'm going to counter the Jace here. We're going to untap and we're going to draw Deprive. Then we'll have Deprive plus Force Up. If they don't do anything, we can Snapcaster Charm. I like this deck a lot. It plays very well. Like, you know, we played against blue-white control last round. Right now we're playing against Teamer nonsense, and you know, typically, you know, in theory, these Delver decks struggle against other mid-range style strategies, but I think if you play tight, you can just crush these decks. I will not. I'm very unlikely to like force anything here. Yeah, I'm not going to force back losing my Deprive. If our opponent uses a Bolt or a Scred on Snapcaster, that's super fine. They may like Snapcaster a Scred or something like that. Weird that they would fetch like that. Well, we can get another Mystic Sanctuary if we want to with this Flooded Strand. Probably will hold it for just a little bit. Although getting an opt is nice if we use the Deprive, then we can deprive something and then have an opt in our hand to draw into the Deprive if we need to counter something else. But I'm gonna just hold it until we use the Deprive. I think that it's gonna be good to potentially be able to get back a Lightning Bolt with the other Mystic Sanctuary and just close out the game. Our opponent's at 12, which is a multiple, or I guess they're not at 12 yet. I'm not going to fight over Lightning Bolt here. I usually don't like to fight over threats in a situation like this. So because we are going to cast Serum Visions, I do think it is correct to shuffle with the Strand and just get back a Serum Visions, set up our draws for the next few turns, bottom both these lands, and then let's not cast the other visions. If we end up depriving something, then we're going to want to have the visions in hand to draw the Deprive. And I also don't want to tap out of Deprive plus Force of Negation. If our opponent's last card in hand is a counter spell, which is it's possible, and they draw like an Oko here, we want to be able to win that fight. Opponent's gone to 13. Okay, so one of the playing at the Misty, I think may have been a mistake on their part. Unclear. Okay, let's cast the visions. We'd like to find a threat or an Archmage's Charm. That is, I guess we don't have Charm in the graveyard anymore, but that is a good top deck. Yeah, let's spawn the Spell Snare, but I'll draw a Delver of Secrets. I will draw a Delver of Secrets. Quick Bolt, Snap, Bolt, end of turn. It's looking a little juicier now that our opponent has gone to 12, which I think was a mistake. I feel like that point of life is less valuable than the thinning that you get from fetching Misty Rainforest. Usually I only like to thin when my life total isn't relevant, and I think our opponent's life total is very relevant. So I'm going to go for Bolt, Snap, Bolt here. Put our opponent down to 6. That kind of like frustrated / loose fetching kind of indicates to me that one of their last 2 cards is also a land. If they're willing to play kind of loose, they just don't have too much going on. Oh, what on earth? Oh, sure. That's fine. We have a Delver of Secrets on top. If it flips, it's, you know, still going to be a 2-turn clock. Certainly going to counter that with a 1 toughness creature in play. We have a Force of Negation out. Maybe we should have forced the Wrenn in case they play a creature. I can see that have been a little bit better, although I don't think they play too many creatures. Oh, Archmage Charm and Chop is awesome. That is almost assuredly going to seal the deal, and our opponent thinks so too. They've gone ahead and conceded. So how would we like to sideboard against Teamer Nonsense? Maybe being a little too critical of my opponent's deck. I just feel like they have to struggle so much against big mana and combo decks, just because they have all these. I feel like the interaction that they can play is so soft to those decks. Like John has discard spells, and Blue-White gets to play way more counter spells than they can, and they just have all these 2 and 3 mana permanents. I'm just not sure how they fight those matchups. Maybe they have Blood Moons. I could see that being the case. Narset doesn't seem terrible to me. It's good against Arkham's Astrolabe, which we saw them play. They have the Royal Scions. It's pretty good against that. What do we not want? I do like to. I don't think I articulated this, but I do like to trim on some Force of Negations in these mid-rangey, grindy matchups. I think I would like to have 3 Force of Negations in this matchup, and 3 Lightning Bolts also sounds about right to me. All right, let's go ahead and run it like this and go to game 2. Yeah. On the draw for game 2, I'm going to keep this hand, and I think I'm not going to lead on Delver of Secrets on turn 1. Our opponent is a Wrenn and 6 deck, and I would like the ability to Spell Snare a Wrenn and 6. Looks like they don't have one. Now the question is, do we want to leave up a Deprive for like an Oko? I think the answer is no. If they play an Oko and we flip a Delver, it's not that big a deal. And it's also possible. Oh no! I F6 and I could have Spell Snared this Ice Fang, so that was a mistake. Yeah, pretty big mistake. But they have a full art Oko. I opened one of these in a treasure chest recently. I like their decision to leave the Ice Fang back on defense. We do flip, and it's kind of an interesting question if they would like to trade Ice Fang for 3 loyalty on the Oko. I wonder if we play out the Young Pyromancer if they're going to turn it into an Elk. I played this card all this weekend in the SCG Regionals in my Simic Eldrazi deck. That deck felt quite good. I plan on recording a video with it sometime soon, maybe today if I have time. Oh, right. The -5. How could I have played around this? Oko is a hard card to play around, I'll tell you that. Force of Negation is not a bad one to find. If only our Narset was in play. We can never lose to that Arkham's Astrolabe. I will protect my Delver pretty aggressively here. I think we need to get this Oko off the field. This card just dominates fair matchups in my experience. Okay, so I'm going to force, and if they counter back, this game's going to be close to over. It was pretty lucky to draw that force. Again, sorry that we have 6 on that turn with the Ice Fang. Should have certainly played around it. And yeah, they counter back. I'll take another draw step or 2, but I don't think that we're going to be able to come back from this. The -5 on Oko is something that it doesn't come up, every single time, but when it comes up, it's incredibly difficult to deal with. Looks like they have another Mystical Dispute or an Opt. Yeah, I'll go ahead and concede here. We've lost this game, but we get to play game 3. And I'm going to go ahead and keep this configuration and try to play a little bit tighter than I did that game. I think we are certainly better suited on the play. On the play for game 3, this hand is really interesting. Like, we have this Mystic Sanctuary that we're playing tapped. We have Narset, which I think is quite good in this matchup. I think Force is also looking very good in this hand, especially if we can spike a land for Young Pyromancer on turn 2. I'm going to try it. I think it's very close. I mean, if we miss our second land drop, we can very likely hit one with an opt. Opponent's mulligan to 6 as well. Just being on the play in this kind of matchup where opponent's playing 2 and 3 mana, you know, sorcery or things that you can force of negation. They're Ren and 6s, they're Okos. Just being able to land a Narset or a Young Pyromancer and then force their play is such a huge tempo swing. I'm willing to try to get a little lucky to make that happen, and we got incredibly rewarded for keeping this hand. And like, if our opponent plays a Ren and 6 and we force it, it's going to be incredibly difficult to lose. So they've shocked with their breeding pool, which I guess indicates Ice Fang Kotal. Let's go ahead and Serum Visions. I'm going to cast Visions first, because if we find a land on the Scry, we're going to want to opt into it. That is what happened. So let's opt into the land. And I'm going to play my Delver of Secrets. If our opponent has an Anger of the Gods, we can force it. And I'm not going to attack Young Pyromancer into Ice Fang. Didn't play around it last game. We'll play around it this game. You know, if they play a turn 3 Oko, it's not going to be something that I think we even need to fight over. Maybe with an Ice Fang in play. But we'll think about it when that bridge comes to, you know, when we have to walk across that bridge. Opponent's very far from turning on their Death Touch as well. Archmage's Charm was a great one to flip. So I'm going to attack with the Insectile Aberration and the 2 Elementals. If our opponent plays another Ice Fang and they want to double block a Delver, I think that's a trade that we're okay making. They're cracking Scalding Tarn. I wonder what 3 mana play this could be. It looks like another Ice Fang. They won't have Death Touch yet. They only have 3 Snow Permanents, and you need effectively 4. I'll take the double block. I think I'm very okay with that. And with Young Pyromancer in play, I'm more interested in just holding up Charm plus Force than playing Narset right now. Yeah, no Bolt or Scred here was. I'm sure our opponent was hoping to find a Bolt or a Scred, and the fact that they weren't able to was very, very bad for them, I think. So I'm going to Archmage Charm this. We can fight over it with Force of Negation. I'll pitch the Snapcaster Mage if we have to force, and then just slam Narset. If our opponent plays Ice Fang, I think that's okay. I'm just going to probably Magmatic Sinkhole that, play Delver, hold up Force of Negation. Try to end this game before our opponent can stabilize. Let's go ahead and delve. I'm gonna exile the Archmage Charm. I think we're very far from snapcasting that back, although getting it back with a Mystic Sanctuary is something we could very likely to do soon. But we have Snapcaster in hand and not a fetch land, so let's go for the leaving the opt in the yard. We can play Delver. We have Force of Negation up. Not sure which one we'd like to pitch at this particular juncture. Probably the Narset, since our opponent's at a low life total. We're trying to get them dead. Do I care about Jace? We have 4 elementals. We'll have 5 if we force, 7. That's lethal if we flip Delver. I think this is just not impactful enough, and we're very likely to kill them in 2 turns anyways, and then I think I would like to try to kill them in 2 turns and keep my force in hand. I think the Jace just doesn't do enough here. If they hit land plus 1 mana removal spell on the Young Pyromancer, it'll be a little obnoxious, but certainly something we can contend with. We could even maybe just play Narset and hold up Force, pitching Snapcaster. It's going to depend on if our opponent plays a land and plays something else. So they hit a mountain, and they hit a red 1-mana removal spell. Yeah, I'll force this. And now they are dead to flipping the Delver. So we did not flip Delver. There's an island on top. But if we hit a lightning bolt off Narset, they die. We whiffed on Narset. Uh-oh. So even though we have a Narset in play, I am going to kill Jace because our clock is the same. Either way, right? 5, 6, 7, 8. We could just put them to... There maybe there's some value just putting them to 2. That way if they Anger of the Gods, it's like... Then that's kind of what they have to have as a sweeper. And then Narset is checking Jace, and maybe we can Narset and hit a lightning bolt. Even though we whiffed the first time. So, oh no, opponent played Snapcaster Mage thinking they could flashback lightning bolts, and then didn't realize that Force of Negation had exiled the lightning bolts, and then after they realized their mistake, they conceded. So I don't think we played as tight as we could have in that match, but we did get there. We're 2-0 over what I think most people would consider to be bad matchups, but I think in both of these matchups, if you just play tight and try to answer their threats with your... Since your counterspells are cheaper than their threats usually, if you can leverage that to your advantage and then play a cheap threat while still holding up these counterspells for their clunky sorcery speed threats, I think you can win. That being said, let's go ahead and go to match number 3. This hand's very good. Very, very good. We can very likely set up a Delver flip. This hand would excel against a combo deck, any big mana deck, which is kind of what you're trying to prey on with these Delver strategies. I will set a stop in my upkeep. I can't imagine that there's anything we really want to shuffle away, or sorry, not shuffle away, scry to the bottom with our Delver of Secrets, but might as well keep a stop just in case there's something so bad against this burn deck that we want to put to the bottom. Suspending a Rift Bolt, you always feel pretty good when your burn opponent starts on Suspend Rift Bolt go. Although this does likely mean Eidolon of the Great Revel. There's another Delver of Secrets, and I'm actually pretty okay drawing that. And waiting on our opponent to click OK. I'm going to get another basic island here. We don't have any red spells in the hand yet. I think Fetch Shocking against Burn is not usually where you want to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and top the Steam Vents, top the Lightning Bolt so we can flip our Delvers. And then we can draw into Steam Vents and then cast Lightning Bolt if we cast Serum Visions next turn. Another nice thing in this matchup is you can Archmage Charm and steal their Goblin Guides and Monastery Swift Spears. Especially Monastery Swift Spear is a good one to steal in this matchup. Would love to steal game 1 since we have 3 Dragon's Claws on the board. There's certainly some value in not F6ing here to represent Force of Negation, but there's more value, I think, in F6ing and saving like 10 seconds of your life. So them bolting the Delver probably means they have a Searing Blaze or an Eidolon of the Great Revel here. Looks like a Blaze. This is fine, I think. I wonder if they had Eidolon, if they would have deployed the Blaze first. Probably. So we draw a Lightning Bolt. We're gonna Serum Visions and hit our land drop and just play Steam Vents tapped and then hold up Opt to cast on our opponent's turn. And so we do want. I think we want both of these. So why don't we draw the Young Pyromancer? plan on not casting Opt on the end of our opponent's turn, and then opting into the island next turn, playing the island, and then casting the other Opt to make another elemental, and use that as our pressure in this game. This will change if our opponent plays a Swift Spear or an Eidolon. But if it does appear like our opponent is on just the all burn spell plan this game, which I think we'll be able to disrupt if we can find a second counterspell. I think one counterspell may not be quite enough, but I think the first one will I think two will be. Very unlikely we die next turn. Even if our opponent has enough burn in hand, it's unlikely that they can deploy it all in one go. They need to cast 3 spells, which is not easy. Although not impossible either. And we have a very meaningful pressure in play now. I think if they don't disrupt the Young Pyromancer, they'll die in like 3 turns. And we have a counter spell to stop like the last burn spell going to our face. And we can often find like a Force of Negation, a Deprive. It's going to be good. And they use one of their burn spells to go after Young Pyromancer. And we still have, 2 points of power, while not being, the most meaningful clock in the world is going to be relevant. And now we drew another piece of action here. I almost think our opponent should probably have just ignored the Young Pyromancer and gone after our face with the Lightning Bolt, but we don't know the contents of their hand to really say whether or not they made the right play or not. I think I kind of like playing 2 Delvers here. It puts more pressure on them. And, well, although just being able to counter any burn spell here is going to be very, very good. And yeah, I think the presence of Mystic Sanctuary in the deck to like if we draw a fetch land, we get the Sanctuary back, Charm to the top. Yeah, and stopping them from gaining 3 life here with the Charm. I think that's going to be too good to tap out of here. So if we can just flip this with a counterspell, I think it's going to be almost impossible to lose. Maybe not. Maybe that's too strong a statement, but it's going to be difficult to lose. We also have a Bolt in our hand to close the clock out just a little bit. Boros Charm us down to 5. They had, and suspended a Rift Bolt, so we need a counterspell. Island on the top. If only that was a fetch land, we could turn that into an Archmage's Charm, flip our Delvers. They are dead to this Bolt if we flip our Delvers next turn. So do they have another burn spell in hand? They have to think it's probably pretty safe to go for it here. If we had a counterspell, I'm sure we would. They have to think we'd counter that Rift Bolt, right? Yeah. So it looks like they're looking and seeing if we were F6, but so we were gonna flip the Delvers and go for lethal next turn. Game 1 can certainly be rough as you saw there. So this matchup, I usually just cut the Delvers. This card is pretty bad in the matchup. What's so bad about this is you can't block with it the turn it comes down, and it has to flip immediately for it to be good. And we're gonna bring in 3 Dragon's Claws and just 1 more Braid as a removal spell. I find in this matchup how you usually lose is them playing 3 creatures and you just can't answer all of them, and they deal too much damage. So bringing in just like not a very effective removal spell in a Braid, but just another removal spell I think is important. Let's keep this. Let's keep this. I'm going to lead on a tapped Steam Vents here. I do think this hand's looking pretty good. Doesn't have a Dragon's Claw, but has a lot of important tools for this matchup. Deprive on top. Deprive plus Mystic Sanctuary is certainly a important piece of the puzzle. Just being able to counter their top deck burn spells, if you can stabilize, is a good way to win this matchup. I'm just going to play this Mystic Sanctuary tap so we can guarantee a 3-mana play next turn. Whether that's Archmage's Charm, Steal a Creature, Force of Negation, or Snapcaster Bolt something. So looks like they've kept a 1-lander. I'm going to bolt the Goblin Guide after the trigger, and then we're probably just going to steal this Monastery Swiftspear. But we're going to steal the Monastery Swiftspear on their turn. In case they play another creature, it's going to be good to have Swiftspear available as a blocker. So we can let our opponent untap the Swiftspear for us. We drew our Mystic Sanctuary, which is nice. We can get back our Archmage's Charm with that. Archmage's Charm and Sanctuary play pretty nicely together. So we won't waste time with the combat step. We'll just steal the Swiftspear now. Opponent is reading Archmage's Charm. And they're going to path the Swiftspear. That's interesting. I think we should probably force this. I don't want them to get a land here. Like, this path is kind of a... You know, it stops our 2-for-1 and gets them a land. It was, I think it was pretty important to capture that. So let's get back Archmage's Charm. Flooding out just a little bit here. 6 lands is too many, I think. But we're going to get to draw a couple cards off of the Archmage's Charm we top deck next turn. I will deprive almost any spell. Although our opponent hasn't. Looks like they just don't want to play any spell. Ooh, they have something on our upkeep. If they're gonna bolt the Swiftspear, I think that's something I'm okay with. Get that prowess trigger. Oh, cool. I'm going to play just a little safe here. I'm going to leave Deprive up, and next turn we can play Dragon's Claw, trigger Prowess, and then hold up Deprive. It is possible our opponent brought in Smash to Smithereens. Like, you have to imagine that they know that Dragon's Claw is a card we could have here. And like, when you're so far ahead in a position like this, I think it's very important to think about how you could lose in the situation. And I think land plus Smash to Smithereens is certainly a way we could lose, and I would like to avoid losing if possible. I think this is the first game where we're really going to see the Deprive soft lock in action. So we're going to Mystic Sanctuary, put Deprive back on top, and what's extra nice is we get to trigger Prowess on our Monastery Swiftspear a couple times. If there's another Dragon's Claw, well, that's certainly not going to be bad. Let's go ahead and keep that. Play out this Dragon's Claw, trigger Prowess, and then attack for 3. Put a Make and Seed to this. They know we have a Deprive in hand too, but they may not. We'll see. I think it's going to be very difficult to lose from this spot, but our opponent does have 6 spells in hand. I'll Deprive almost anything. But I guess probably not like I wouldn't deprive a lava spike. I'll deprive like a helix on the Swift Spear or a Boros Charm. Yeah. Something we could do is we could opt and bottom the Dragon's Claw and then and then we know there's an opt underneath that, and then we could grow the Swift Spear to be out of burn range, and then we don't have to, you know, we still get to hold this deprive. I think that this might be a little too cute, but like I'm kind of into it. Force is good, so let's make sure we can hold up Force plus deprive. If we didn't have this Monastery Swift Spear in play, maybe I would hold the Serum Visions to immediately redraw deprive. Oh man, I wish that we had, you know, some of this value next game. You know, this is almost too much. To gain a life off of. Oh. Okay, I think Magic Online is crashing. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the recording and then resume in just a second. Okay, so we got back. Magic Online decided couldn't handle all the value we're getting and bugged out for a second. But we are back. Gonna play Young Pyromancer, gain a life off Dragon's Claw, and this game is over. Kind of feels like garbage time at this point. We'll see if they concede to this deprive. Our opponent is, you know, you gotta give him kudos for playing through all of this. Certainly would be a different game if they had hit their second land drop sooner. So let's go ahead and Sanctuary. Put deprive on top, draw 2 cards. Opponent's had enough. No changes for game 3. We'll just go ahead and submit and run it back. We've got kind of a weird hand for game 3. We're on the draw. I'm going to keep this. I think having removal spells in the early game is the most important thing in this matchup, except maybe having a Dragon's Claw. I do find the most likely way for you to lose this matchup is to just not be able to answer their early creatures. Our opponent did not play a creature on turn 1. I think that means it's very likely they have an Eidolon, or they just have a very burn heavy hand. Let's go ahead and play the Demons tapped. Lightning Bolt's us. Honestly, drawing this second Lightning Bolt was pretty big liability. Would have much rather this have been a land, a counterspell, Dragon's Claw, threat. We didn't need a third removal spell, especially since our opponent didn't lead on a 1-mana creature. There's Eidolon. I'm going to wait to bolt the Eidolon until their attacker step. If they want to lead on like a Monastery Swift Spear or something, we'll let them take the 2 points of damage. If they force to protect their, if they Boros Charm to protect their Eidolon, we'll think about forcing the Boros Charm. Although we'll probably just not and bolt it again on their turn. Hold the Force of Negation for another day. Looks like they are choosing to Boros Charm and protect. So if we force, we commit to just taking 2 damage off this Eidolon. I'm just kind of okay. I think I'm okay. I think because we have so many removal spells in our hand, like who knows if we'll ever get value off this Abrade. I think that because of that, I think that I want to just try to abrade this Eidolon next turn. Actually, so drawing that Serum Visions makes me want to, instead of going on that game plan, Lightning Bolt the Eidolon and then go for Serum Visions here. So we can hit our land drop, and we did hit our land drop. There's also a Young Pyromancer here. I honestly almost want this Flooded Strand more. That way we can hit our 4th land drop for Deprive plus Sanctuary. And we already have some pressure in Snapcaster Mage. So I'm not going to shuffle with this Flooded Strand. But I do think that the Deprive Mystic Sanctuary lock is very good in the late game of the Burn matchup, and we're getting near to the late game. Opponent's shocked with Sacred Foundry. That's a little concerning. I'll let a Lightning Helix resolve. So, we are kind of committed to going down to 6 life off of these fetch lands, but opponent has 2 cards in hand. We have a hand full of counterspells. I think that we're okay. We're certainly countering this. Only question is with what? I think that I would like to counter it with a Deprive. So let's get our 2nd Mystic Sanctuary. Get a Serum Visions. This way we can, play Serum Visions, or play Mystic Sanctuary, put Deprive on top, and then Serum Visions into it. And we have Force to make sure we don't die to 2 burn spells here. Our opponent has 1 card in hand. If they have 2 burn spells, they're gonna cast both. Okay, Goblin Guide is interesting here. It's gonna reveal a Serum Visions. This is gonna put us to 4, which is a lot more than 3 in this matchup, and then we can abrade. We can abrade the Goblin Guide. Skull cracks us. Well, I think we need to force here. I'm gonna pitch the Charm. We can also Charm Steel Goblin Guide. No, I think we want to use the Abrade. So we died to Boros Charm off the top, but I think it's going to be pretty hard to lose beyond that. Okay, I think I'm also in for Young Pyromancer. If our opponent doesn't play a spell next turn, then we get the Young Pyromancer plus hold up Deprive. Okay, so here I think it's going to be good to Snapcaster, block Goblin Guide, and then Bolt Monastery Swift Spear. That way we still stay at 4. And then we still have to Abrade plus Deprive. And Young Pyromancer to actually pressure our opponent. Certainly close, but I think that we're ahead from this point. So the fact that we're at 4 and not 3 is such a big deal. If they have an Exquisite Firecraft, we're going to lose in the top, like 5 cards of the deck. But that'll happen. Kind of would like to see a Goblin Guide here. Would love to use the Abrade. So opponent tapped to mount and then untapped. I guess this means they have, I mean, they have a burn spell of some kind. Let me make sure I hit record. I actually, yeah, okay, cool. I wasn't 100% sure. I did. I stepped up for a minute in between games 2 and 3. Something that could happen is they could, you know, just try to draw 3 burn spells in a row and overwhelm our counter spells. If we don't hit a land here and they just have 3 burn spells, we could lose. Okay, we did hit a land, so now I'm feeling in very good shape. Again, would love to see a Goblin Guide or a Monastery Swift Spear for us to upgrade. Would also not mind seeing them just play at a land here. If they play at a land, it's going to be safe for us to cast Archmage's Charm to draw 2 cards and make an Elemental. Because we just can't die unless they have double Boros Charm. And I think just keeping the flow going is going to be important. Second Deprive is very good. Force It is not bad either. I think we're gonna get there. It's looking. I think the main way we could lose this game is our opponent finds an Exquisite Firecraft. Fetching here is really weird. Unless they're going to Searing Blaze us. I feel like fetching to Thin is so dangerous because of their life total. Oh no, 3 mana, don't be Exquisite Firecraft. Molten Rain. So we're breathing a sigh of relief because this 3 mana spell is not a Firecraft, and we're going to deprive this. And now if we find a cantrip, we can put Lightning Bolt on top and then cantrip into the Lightning Bolt and kill our opponent. I'll use a Hardcast Force of Negation on this. And we're in no risk of dying this turn. With 1 mana, they can't Boros Charm us. They can, you know, if they have another burn spell, they can put us to 1, and then we are going to hold up Deprive, and I think that the only way we can lose is Exquisite Firecraft off the top, and we can even dodge that if we top deck a cantrip right now. Just any way to draw a card. We did not. I am going to put the Lightning Bolt on top. I am also going to attack with every creature. No reason to leave 1 back for a hasty. We'll just counter or abrade a Goblin Guide or a Swift Spear. The only way we lose is Exquisite Firecraft because we can counter anything they draw here. Okay. Wonderful. Looks like we are advancing to 3-0. I do think this matchup leans slightly in our favor with 3 Dragon's Claws because you don't even need the Dragon's Claws to win. I think games like this happen pretty often where you just counter everything they do in the late game. But I do think that you probably want the Dragon's Claws. Burn is pretty prominent on Magic Online right now, and I'd recommend respecting the matchup. Our opponent is taking some time to let this Deprive resolve. I wonder if they're composing a message in chat. We'll see if it's a wow, your deck is cool, or man, your deck is dumb kind of message. So it looks like we just lost connection to the game, but we're back and we are going to point a Lightning Bolt at our opponent and win this game and advance to 3-0. Very cool. I will see you guys for match number 4. So we are on the draw for match number 4. I'm going to mulligan this hand. Double Sinkhole was pretty awkward. Honestly, if the Sinkhole was like Young Pyromancer, Delver of Secrets, Sarah Visions, Opt, maybe even Force of Negation, I would keep this, but just a little too clunky here. I like this hand much more. We're going to click Keep, but what would we like to put back? Maybe the Mystic Sanctuary. It seems a little awkward in this hand. And, you know, Mystic Sanctuary is good to fetch for down the line. Playing against Burn, not the same person we played last round. I guess it isn't 100% to be Burn, but it's very likely to be. Vexing Devil. I am gonna say no. We'll bolt this. And effectively save a couple of life here. But kind of the same. I guess not. I guess this was worse than Goblin Guide here, because we would have shocked and bolted a Goblin Guide, but we're pretty happy to not do that here. So Windswept Heath means that I guess this is going to be more of a zoo type variant, which is not something I expected to face, and I also think is a worse matchup for us than regular Burn. Although we'll see what we can do. I was kind of thinking with Arid Mesa Sacred Foundry that this was just a Burn deck playing Vexing Devil. But maybe I should have respected, you know, these creatures a little bit more and taken 4 to save our bolt for other things. We'd love to draw Snapcaster Mage. If we flip these Delvers to a Lightning Bolt, it's going to be likely that we can just race. They bolt one of the Delvers. Interesting. There's an island, so let's go ahead and bottom the island with this opt. I don't want to draw that. Snapcaster is good. No, it won't be good this turn. I'm gonna opt and see if we can find a bolt or a Delver here. There's a bolt, so let's bolt the Nikatl and then attack for 1. What has 2 cards in hand? You know, if they play another creature, we get to snap block Burning Tree, bolt the other creature, and potentially flip Delver with a Misty Rainforest for Mystic Sanctuary. So I don't hate our spot here. I do think that this is a bad matchup. Looks like an Atarka's Command to deal like a total of 6 to us, putting us to 6. But has 1 card left in hand. Would love to flip this Delver. No, just another Delver of Secrets. But I guess what we can do here is sack this down to 5. Mystic Sanctuary, put Bolt on top. Play Delver. Attack with Delver, put our opponent down to 12. And then we can Snapcaster Mage, block Burning Tree Emissary, Lightning Bolt our opponent, flip both Delvers off Lightning Bolt, and then deal 12 damage to them. So that's Xaxes, so if we don't die to the 2 cards in their hand, we're going to be in good shape. And I think that it's unlikely we do, you know, even if they can present lethal here. You know, it would likely involve a creature and not 2 burn spells, seeing how it seems like they're playing Burning Tree Emissary. They don't seem to be as burn heavy as, you know, the Boros versions. If they Gore Clan Rampager here, we can just bolt the Burning Tree Emissary. Yeah, in response. So I guess they should have done that in response to the Snapcaster trigger. We maybe didn't respect Gore Clan Rampager enough, although that's not a super common card anymore. Yeah, they're dead to the Lightning Bolt, so very nice. Let's bring in the Abrades against this very creature-heavy version. Grim Lavamancer seem good as well. Force of Negation doesn't seem as good against this deck as the as you know, Boros Burn. Delvers still seems pretty bad though. So let's cut the Delvers. Do we want Dragon's Claws? I think we do. Yeah, let's run it like this. This looks good to me. I think we're honestly pretty lucky to win game 1. You know, just having played a lot of Blue-Red Delver back when like Naya Zoo was popular years ago. This was always a really bad matchup for me, I felt, or for Delver. This is a hand. I mean, I would love to keep this hand against burn, but this is, you know, more of a zoo deck. And, you know, they'll just play creatures and kill us before these Dragon's Claws can take over the game. So I'm going to mulligan that hand. And we can keep this. I do think it's usually just correct to put your Mystic Sanctuary back to fetch for it later. Although we could put the Deprive back in this hand. I'll put the Sanctuary back. So the Vexing Devil will just take 4, I think. Being on the mulligan and being on the draw is risky. So yeah, them leading Experiment 1, I'm glad we mulliganed a hand with 3 Dragon's Claws. Who knows if we're even supposed to have Dragon's Claws in this matchup. This is not something I was super prepared for, to be honest. Young Pyromancer seems good if they're going to be on the Experiment 1 start, although perhaps a little too slow. If they're missing a land drop, I could see Young Pyromancer taking over the game. I didn't think that they would be playing Experiment 1. I guess it's hard to figure out exactly how burn versus creature heavy they are here. The fact that they're playing Experiment 1 means that we probably should just cut all the Dragon's Claws post board. So we're going to take 6 here. We did find 2 lands. That's kind of nice. Opponent still has 5 cards in hand. Yeah, I do think that it's going to be good to use 2 removal spells here. Hopefully they don't play a land and Gore Clan Rampager us. That would be really bad. Looks like we're going to avoid that. So let's kill 2 of these creatures and then double block the other one. And then hopefully we can just counter any lethal burn spells that we might face. There's another Abrade on top, which will be nice if we want to go like Abrade plus Deprive next turn. They bolt our face, okay. So we only get to use 1 of these fetch lands. You have to imagine they have some more burn in the hand, so we're in a precarious spot. The Dragon's Claw would be good in this particular juncture. Okay, so that resolves. And it looks like our opponent's going to maybe try to leverage a Lightning Bolt at instant speed to kill us. So we'll cast the Abrade. We'll see if they want to go for the Bolt while we're, you know, only holding up 2 mana. They say, no thank you. This is going to be close. So they're going to cast the Bolt. No, they didn't cast the Bolt. Weird. Well, I don't want to deprive Wild Nacatl. It just resolves. Okay, we can deprive this one maybe. I don't think that they have a 3rd land, so if we Mystic Sanctuary, put Lightning Bolt back on top, deprive this, and then bolt our opponent, Snapcaster bolt our opponent, they block Young Pyromancer, then they take 2 from the Elementals, so that seems like... Oh. Sorry, Magic Online been crashing a lot today, but we have found the line, I think, to win this pretty unfavorable matchup. So yes, put Lightning Bolt on top. Deprive Wild Nacatl. Like maybe our opponent's getting us here and they have land plus Bolt, but I think it's unlikely that they have a land plus Bolt here. So yeah, let's go ahead and Mystic Sanctuary back, Sarah Visions, whatever. Bolt our opponent. Snapcaster Bolt our opponent, and then attack for lethal. Pretty exciting game. Yes, this matchup I think is pretty poor for us, so I am really happy that we were able to just 2-0 it. Which can happen, you know, with any deck. You can just steal wins from your bad matchups. And we're 4-0. We'll see if we can snag 11th trophy of the season in our next round. See you there. On the play, in match number 5 of this league, we have a very strong hand. Certainly happy to keep this one. Island Delver of Secrets. Is there a better start in Magic the Gathering? Yes, is the answer. Snow-covered island usually means we're playing against some Urza variant, and I do feel favored against the Urza decks. Just they tend to be a little soft to a fistful of counterspells, and that's exactly what our deck is a fistful of counterspells. So ideally we can set up, oh, awesome. Drawing the island, and then finding an instant or sorcery to flip our Delver of Secrets, and then also having Mystic Sanctuary is going to be really good. Okay, so the opt here means that maybe we're playing against Blue-White Stoneblade, just like our first match. Oh, okay. Blue-Red. Is it Charms or Delver of Secrets? So is it Charm indicate, like, leads me to believe we're playing against Blue-Red through the Breach, which is a matchup I think I like. I think you go underneath them really well, and your counterspells are great against them. They tend to play Is it Charm to loot away Imracools that are unnecessary in their hand. I'm going to go ahead and Archmage's Charm here. If they kill my Delver, that's going to be okay. We're going to get to draw 2 cards and kind of start to take over the game with Mystic Sanctuary. And if they counter Archmage's Charm, we're just going to put it back on top with the Mystic Sanctuary. So, feeling fine. Remand is just fine as well. They could also have a Lightning Bolt, but it looks like they don't. So let's go ahead and just attack before we do anything. Tends to be a good habit to get into. Get aggressive and bolt our opponent in Mystic Sanctuary to the top, but that seems unnecessary. Let's just put a Serum Visions on top, cast another Serum Visions, and hold up some counter magic. I think we want to draw this island, and I don't hate putting the other Serum Visions below it. Drawing the island lets us hold up 2 counter spells on turn number 5. I gotta say, I like our position here. If I'm right, and this is Blue-Red through the Breach, which is usually what Is It Charm indicates, I think our matchup is favored, and we're gonna steal game 1. I would certainly like to get trophy number 11. I'm gonna put a card on the bottom with Opt. I'm gonna fight over this Lightning Bolt here. Yeah, if they remand, they're remanding Deprive, and we can't fight back because if they just go land through the Breach, we lose. So let's just pass and try to leverage this Archmage's Charm to get a little ahead here. They know we have deprive in hand because of the remand. I'm going to go for the charm here. Opponent goes counter draw. Okay. Pretty aggressive cryptic command. But I don't hate that line. I tend to like to use cryptic commands pretty aggressively myself in matchups like this. Okay, I'll draw the other Mystic Sanctuary, and I guess we'll just draw it now. I'll keep it opt, and then we'll just hold up deprive, put Archmage's Charm on top. Opponent may like go for a Through the Breach end of turn, and then, you know, try to Through the Breach again on their turn. But we do have multiple counter spells up at this point, so we won't lose to that. Draw 2 cards. Alright, we have restarted Magic Online. Hopefully we can get through the rest of this league without any issues. Okay, that resolved. I'm going to go ahead and cast this opt. Love Snapcaster Mage here. So let's play Delver. Kind of would like a third Mystic Sanctuary in the spot. I don't think that you can afford to play 3 Mystic Sanctuaries in your Delver deck. You like just tap lands in the early game or so. Such a big liability, but just being able to, you know, tutor up a spell to flip your Delvers is very powerful. I think that we need to deprive this. Alright, I guess I am letting this go. I am a little afraid of the combo. Opponent only has 2 cards in hand, you know, they draw up to another one. But I think that we still have enough advantage to leverage that we don't need to aggressively fight over this Snapcaster Mage. We can just let it go. I'm going to put a card on the bottom with opt. Okay, I'm going to hardcast Force here. You know, they're not 100% to be playing the Through the Breach Emrakul combo, but Is It Charm usually means that they have. That's what they're on, is Through the Breach. Oh, nice. Another Snapcaster is good for them here. May have to Bolt Snap Bolt to clear the board. They've certainly played well, I think. They've gotten themselves in a good position. That's interesting. So we can bolt them and then Mystic Sanctuary bolt to the top of the deck. What I dislike about that is it really telegraphs that our line is, you know, we're gonna burn them out next turn. And like this line is very soft to a counter spell. So let's just put deprive on top and pass. I'm going to take 4. But they put a card on bottom with opt. Another Snapcaster. Well, let's fight over this. Reman's targeting their Snapcaster. Opponents played very well. We may have to just use these lightning bolts to kill our opponent's Snapcasters now. They have 3 cards in hand. So I'm going to attack with this Snapcaster Mage, see how my opponent reacts to this. Let's put an Archmage's Charm on top. Scalding Tarn. So I'm going to bolt one of these Snapcaster Mages so we don't die to a lightning bolt from them. Yeah, so they certainly are trying to go for lethal here, so let's try to prevent that. So they have 3 cards in hand. I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 cards, hopefully. Would really like this to resolve. Oh boy. That's a draw. Those are 2 good cards. I'm gonna try to trade Snapcasters here. What a close game. It's gotta be our opponent's 4th opt, right? Yeah, that's the 4th opt. It's actually their 6th opt because they've Snapcasted 2. They put a card on the bottom. So I think we need to bolt this Snapcaster. Just sadly aren't in the position to burn them out anymore, which seems like, you know, usually that's our role. Sinkhole, interesting. Don't want to aggressively go for Snapcaster Mage, Archmage's Charm, since like that just folds so hard to any counter spell. Yeah, we need to counter this though. I'm going to Snapcaster Deprive, and that way we can get some value with Mystic Sanctuary. Also plays around Mana Leak. Just a little better because we don't have to crack the Flooded Strand. They're fetching, so they have another play here. Oh, so they finally found through the Breach Emrakul. Okay. So down a game against the Through the Breach deck. That was a hard one. Our opponent played very tight. So I know I do like Narset a lot in this matchup. I think that her static ability is going to be great. I think we could probably just cut the sinkholes. I know they answer Jace, but so does Lightning Bolt. And let's run it like this. I think that, you know, their combo is pretty vulnerable to counter spells. I think that if we play tight, we can get there in games 2 and 3. It's possible we played maybe a little too aggressively, like maybe fighting over the Lightning Bolt on the Delver was wrong. I'm going to keep this. I usually keep one land Serum Vision hands. You're just so likely to hit at least one land off of this. And we did. Be a little risky to run out Pyromancer just on turn 2 here. And I think because we're still looking for lands, it'll be just a little bit better to just try to opt, hit land number 3, and then, you know, Archmage's Charm if we find land number 3. And then if we find land number 4 off of this, we can Young Pyromancer plus Deprive. That seems a little better than just jamming this out here. Surely they're not fighting over this. So that aggressive remand leads me to believe that they are light on lands and they're relying on that cycle to hit them lands. So hopefully we can punish them a little bit for that. Doesn't appear like we can. I am gonna play Young Pyromancer, be a little more mana efficient than playing Delver. Rough to miss on a land drop after opting. Opponent plays Snow-Covered Mountain and then casts Op, putting a card on the bottom. And then lets us untap with Young Pyromancer, which is not something I was expecting to happen here. We could Delver plus Bolt here. I think I would like to do that. Like, we're not in danger of getting Through the Breach, so I think I'd like to play the Delver before we are remand. I'll replay Delver. Again, just there's no chance of Through the Breach happening this turn. I mean, I guess they could be playing Simian Spirit Guides, but I think it's unlikely, and this also means they can't really tap out for a Jace. Ooh, Archmage's Charm steal Delver. Well, maybe we can steal that back. Man, we still haven't hit a land drop. Well, I'm not going to go for Lightning Bolt now, because I don't want to go shields down for Through the Breach. Can't let that resolve. They didn't hit their 5th land drop, which is kind of nice. No, I'm actually just not going to bolt the Delver. If they do hit land for their Through the Breach, I don't want them to go for it, so I think that I'd like to de-incentivize them for going for that. And then why don't we just bolt now that they can no longer Through the Breach. They may fight over this with that Is It Charm that they flipped, but I think that would have been a bad fight for them to choose. If they plus here, then we just get to bolt, snap, bolt. It's not going to be a problem. They put a card on top of their library, which is a little concerning. If it's a land and they have the Through the Breach, it's going to be game over. But that being said, like, we just can't. We can't afford to let Jace stay and play. So we're going to hope that they aren't going to kill us here. And if they do, then tough beats. Certainly think if we had hit a land off of like our opt or the draw step, we would have been in great shape. And looks like they don't have it. I imagine they kept this island. Thinking Is It Charm kills Snapcaster Mage? So post-combat, they're going to loot with Is It Charm, which is a super weird play to make. Discarding Emrakul Snapcaster. Shuffle their graveyard. Weird. Well, I'd be lying if I told you I understood why that just happened. You'd think even just killing Snapcaster Mage would be more valuable than looting with Izzet Charm there. Flooded Strand was a good draw because we can get Mystic Sanctuary to get Deprive, and we can hold up Charm plus Deprive. Oh boy. This card has gotten me more times than I'd care to admit. What are they going to do with it? If they just -1 and kill the Snapcaster Mage, we can just Snapcaster Bolt and kill it. It's just not going to be that big a deal. So we're certainly, we have to beat this Chandra somehow. I think that we can race it. Let's get this Deprive back and then draw 2 cards with Archmage's Charm. I don't want to run out the Snapcaster into her potential -3 here. This is a non-elemental. It deals damage to non-elemental creatures, so I wonder if maybe we can play out a Young Pyromancer and get some elementals going. This is going to be close. If we find another Lightning Bolt, I think that we're going to be in good shape. We have many turns before we die to these Chandra emblems. I think we have like 4 turns. We're going to take 2, then 3, then 4. So we have 4 turns, assuming we take no other damage. And this is also assuming our opponent pluses the Chandra every turn. So opponents' Izzet Charm play makes a little more sense. They wanted to dig for lands because they think Chandra is going to be an auto win for them. And maybe it is. So I think we should put pressure on by going for a Snapcaster Bolt. We can protect this with Deprive. I'll go for Deprive here. It has 3 cards in hand. They're pretty likely to be able to fight back. Ooh. That was good. The Snapcaster Snare. Well, we're going to take 1 from Chandra's Emblem. Force was a good draw. Okay, so let's put Lightning Bolt on top. Play Young Pyromancer. Pass the turn. Imagine our opponent's just going to -1 on the Pyromancer. So let's go ahead and make an elemental token. It's going to be close. We're certainly behind. Put a card on top. We have to trade here. We can't really afford to take 2. Need to find a Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, mainly a Snapcaster Mage. I think that's going to be our best way out of this. A little more likely it resolves if we keep this Force of Negation around. I don't know what our opponent's tanking on here. Or maybe Magic Online is just stuttering again. We drew another Force of Negation. I'm going to pass. This card's very good in the blue mirrors, of course. Can't tell if my opponent's tanking or Magic Online is being buggy. So we're going to take 2, then 3, then 4. So we have 3 turns. So we need to find basically Snapcaster to snap back this bolt, and then I guess that's not even going to be enough. This is tough. This is really tricky. May not get trophy number 11 here. They've been on the tank, in the tank, I should say, in our main phase for 2 minutes now. You know, hopefully they, didn't have to get up and they don't like disconnect here. We get to finish this game. This is a very interesting game. I could see some sequence happening. We go to our opponent's turn. We cast Archmage's Charm to draw 2 cards. Our opponent fights over it with a counterspell. We deprive back, and then they counterspell back. We force a negation. Archmage's Charm resolves. We draw a bolt or a Snapcaster Mage. We bolt them with the bolts in our hand. We play our Mystic Sanctuary that we return from deprive, and then bolt our opponent again, and then snap bolt end of turn. That's I think a way that we win this game, but that certainly is a lot of things going right. We need to draw well off this charm this turn, and we also need our opponent to not have 4 pieces of interaction in their hand. Delver is interesting. The problem is they're just going to kill it with Chandra. Yeah, it needs to be Snapcaster because that's a flash threat. That also can cast a lightning bolt. I'm sure our opponent's in the tank about countering this. We have to fight over it. There's no way we're going to win if this bolt doesn't resolve. But the problem is we just don't have, I think, the right other cards to finish the job. If we play the Delver of Secrets, does it buy us a turn? Play Delver, they minus, we take 2, then they plus the next turn, we take 3. I guess it does. But I think we're going to be a little better suited, maybe just digging for a bolt off of, two bolts off this Narset. Yeah, this is going to be tough. They can also just minus Chandra and kill Narset if they want to. But if they do that, then they do. This could be bait. Sometimes they just cast through the breach end of turn without the Emrakul. We have Force of Negations up on their turn. I'm gonna try to counter this. It is also kind of nice to return Mystic Sanctuary here to get another lightning bolt. Although if they plus here, I don't know, guys. This is going to be a tall order to win this turn or this game. We did keep all 4 bolts in our deck, and there's still 3 more. Oh, there's 2 more. We've already flashbacked 1. Only 2 more. We can draw 1 off the Mystic Sanctuary. Did our opponent opt on their turn? Oh, they were prevented from drawing a card. So that's nice. All right, let's try to find a... We need to find a bolt off this Narset. Okay, there's a bolt. I feel like we're going to come up just short here. Because, you know, so we can Lightning Bolt our opponent, play Mystic Sanctuary, put Lightning Bolts back on top. We can't... Yeah, we're gonna come up just short here. I think. If we could play both Polluted Delta and Mystic Sanctuary, then we could, like... Yeah, I guess we would still die on our upkeep. Chandra is good against blue decks. I guess I'm just gonna cast Opt, and I don't think that we have outs here, but see what we can find. Yeah, we've lost this game. Certainly played hard. I can't help but feel like we could have sequenced things differently. Chandra Awakened Inferno was a tough one to play around. I'll tell you that. Yeah, we're gonna die to the emblems. Alright, well, good lead. We 4-1. Didn't get our 11th trophy of the season, but I had a good time. I hope that you guys learned something, which is always the point of these videos, is to kind of show off, you know, what I'm working on. And if you enjoy this video, I am still, you know, primarily focusing on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/aspiringspike. So if you want to see more of what I'm working on, you can come and hang out over there. And with that, we're a wrap. Don't think I have anything else I'd like to plug or say or anything. Just hope you had a good one, and I will see you in the next video.